And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Clippers and how Tyronn Lue, quote, can't wait to prove people wrong about the Clippers. So just going to go ahead and, briefly explain like what the Clippers have been going through in this off season. So recently they've lost Paul George, and now the duo of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George has ended. It was disappointing. It was arguably one of the worst trades in NBA history. The trade, that sent Paul George to the Clippers is probably the worst trade in NBA history now. And looking back on it, now the Thunder have been able to acquire several talented players, and they have more talented players incoming in future drafts. But aside from that, the Clippers, again, they're in a very, very bad situation. This is the first time since acquiring Paul George in 2019 where they don't have any hopes. This is the first time since 2019 where there's no expectations for this Clippers team, and nobody really expects them to be a very deep contending team, a challenging team, or a team to be taken seriously for next season. But Tyronn Lue, the head coach of the Clippers, thinks completely different. And the Clippers head coach Tyronn Lue has said, quote, when you lose a guy of Paul George's stature, instantly people think, oh, they can't win, or they're not going to be competitive. Lue told ESPN Young Misuk, excuse me if I botched that name, but that just challenges me even more. Okay, people are counting us out, or people don't think we're going to be good. That right there just gives me an extra dose of motivation. I can't wait to prove everyone wrong. This is what he said. Now, it's been less than 8 months since the Clippers were the favorites to win in the entire Western Conference, believe it or not. The Clippers at a time, when they got James Harden and, when Kawhi and Paul George, they were all playing together, they were, and even Russell Westbrook at a point, they were the favorites to win the Western Conference. And I think at one point they might have been co-favorites with the Boston Celtics to win it all. But it wasn't like they weren't that good last season, because they were the favorite at one point. It's just they fell off last season. They started losing a bunch of games towards the end of the season, and that carried over into the postseason, into the series with the Dallas Mavericks, and that was it for them. And then they lost to Dallas in the first round. That was the first time that Dallas had ever beaten the Clippers in the postseason, and that caused Paul George to just be like, bye. But aside from, the losing consistently, or losing pretty often towards the end of the season, in the middle of the season when they were the favorites, they were on a 20-4 losing streak, and they looked very, very good. But a lot has happened since then, and besides losing Russell Westbrook and Paul George, they're following their first round loss, they sort of had to sit at home and watch younger teams like the Timberwolves, Thunder, and the Mavericks grow in confidence in the postseason, where they sort of sit in the same level of mediocrity that they had before they acquired Kawhi Leonard. It should be noted that when Kawhi Leonard plays, the Clippers have not gone nearly as far as they get when he doesn't play. I think that should be noted. Kawhi Leonard did not play in the season, or in the postseason, I should say, when the Clippers ended up going to the Western Conference Finals. That was all Paul George. And Kawhi, he always gets put on these good teams, and it's pretty interesting how he gets a lot of the credit despite the fact that he doesn't deserve it. But all of those teams, they are probably going to be all the teams that I mentioned, the Timberwolves, the Thunder and the Mavs, they're probably going to be a little bit better than they were last season. Again, time will tell, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be even better. And besides the other powerhouses, the Clippers, they also have to contend with the Nuggets, the Suns, the Kings, the Lakers, the Warriors, and also Ja Morant as the Grizzlies end up returning. And maybe even the Houston Rockets, who I mentioned before, could have a breakout season. But Lue, for some reason, he still thinks that this team has a chance, which is still kind of interesting. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this. And for the simple fact that we are short on time, I'm going to end this segment a little bit earlier than I normally would. And I'm going to go ahead and go into the final segment where I talk about an NBA player who I feel like doesn't deserve to win the MVP in a specific year. So I'll be right back after this short break. So be sure to stay tuned for that.